Oh, Lisa, thank you for joining. Hi, Terry. Haven't seen you for a while. How is everything going? Hello, Robert. Lisa, Judith, thank you for coming to this tour. Hi, Eva. Maybe now, before we actually talk into the tour, why don't you stay there and enjoy the scenery here? And you can see the changing clouds climbing on the slope of the mountains here. Hello, Nancy. I'm in southeastern China. Do you have any idea about the Chinese geography? In general, the eastern part of China is flat, while the central and western part are pretty high. There are high mountains. Indeed, I'm in southeastern China. You're not wrong, I'm in eastern China. But there are some, let's say, mountainous regions. I'm in a mountainous region, in a rural area of China. To be more specific, I'm in Anhui province. And we are about 200 to 300 kilometers away to the east coast of China. Hi, Laurie. Camilo, thank you for coming to the tour. How's everything going? And let me show you the surrounding here. We're about no more than 300 kilometers away to the east coast of China. And now I'm standing and looking in the direction of west, a little bit towards north. And you can see the mist climbs the opposite way. Yeah, it's blown by the wind. And in China, there's actually a colloquial phrase that is 喝西北风 in Chinese. It literally means drink northwesterly wind. Now, I will leave this to you to guess what it actually means. Right? Drink northwesterly wind. Let me give you a little bit clue. But of course, before I give you any clue, I want you to guess. What does it really mean? What does it imply? It's like a idiomatic expression in Chinese language. Again, drink northwesterly wind. All right? You know what? Actually, you can say that we are at the tail of winter, in the beginning of spring, because just a week after the Chinese New Year, it was the beginning of spring according to China's solar term. But it's still quite cold, especially now in the morning. That is a tricky one. All right, now I'm going to give you some clue. Hi, Siberia, KM, Lisa. Now I'm going to give you some clue and try to connect that expression with temperature. With temperature, you know, I believe in spring, summer, in a warm, hot day, usually people in this region, they get wind that comes from the opposite direction. That is a southwestern wind. But now we are getting the northeastern wind. All right. Yeah. So I would say that Chinese idiom has two meanings. The more superficial meaning is that you just stay in a cold place for doing nothing. like you are just a foolish man, something like this. Yeah, because obviously you don't want to stay in a cold place, in cold air. Well, the deeper meaning of that is it means someone who just hands loose around without doing anything constructive. This is what that Chinese expression means. Drink northwesterly wind. Yeah, in Chinese it's pronounced as 喝西北风. All right, so in order not to drink northwesterly wind, let me turn around. And actually, I'm here with my wife. This morning, we came here in a van that we hired. And on the way, the van driver dropped my children off at the school. There's my wife, Lan Lan. This is called Wenchang Ancient Path. In Chinese, Wenchang 古道. When I created this tour, I tried to decide which word to use for the translation. Because in Chinese, 古 literally means, I would say, more like ancient. But you can also say it's old. Yeah. I would say this ancient path, as you can see in the introduction, and according to the like Chinese Google introduction about this place, this path was actually paved by a moneybag who lived in the end of Qing Dynasty. In that sense, it's not like an ancient thing, right? Because something ancient should be at least multiple 100 years old. Or in China history, you can guess maybe 1,000, 2,000 without any difficulty.
这条路是回去的路，这条路是去文山店的路，
是吧？
对。
我们要去一个有景观的路呀。
这里就是去朝阳的路。
景观的路，两条路都是通到回家吧？不通的。
这条路回家，这条路不回家，这条路是去文山店。
文山店不一样哈。Okay, let me show you more of the vast view.
这上面的茶树都是人家不种了，荒掉了，
是吧？
长了很多野果子树。
Too bad that my wife doesn't speak any English. And actually, she's trying to learn English with me. And yesterday, and also 3 days ago, I gave her an English lesson. I taught her some English grammar rules. I told her that to learn English is very beneficial because different from Chinese, English has a quite complicated system of grammar, and it can help people think logically. Well, in Chinese, the difficult part is writing the Chinese characters. But there's not really a system of the grammar. You can basically just put the words together according to the customs. Yeah. We don't ever learn any grammar, and actually there are no rules in Chinese language. Hi, Dawn. Long time no see, Dawn. Do you live in England? Oh, no. You live in Australia. NE stands for Northeastern England. Oh, what does that mean? England. Okay. I guess, yeah, you live in England. Dawn, but I guess for you, someone who lives in England, it's difficult for you to catch on a tour now. It's here early in the morning. And yeah, I started this tour just a minute ago at 9 o'clock. For you, it's too early or late, either way. Chinese verbs are not conjugated the same way as in English, but as a result, much more important Chinese than in English. Chinese does not have verb tenses. No. And Chinese, we don't have singular, plural variations. We don't have that. Words in Chinese don't have inflectual changes. This is what I mean by saying there's not a system of grammar in Chinese language. All right, now ahead you can see some villages. And we actually started climbing from there about half an hour ago. This is a off-beaten path. Now, it's only my wife and I here. One farmer, thank you, Laurie. One farmer owns all this land. No, Joe. Hello, Joe. You can actually see, residential houses in clusters. I would say there are 3 clusters ahead of us. Yeah. Well, all these 3 clusters of houses, they form a village. It's one village. Obviously, there are many different families living there. But just like the village I live in, there are not many people actually who currently living in the village because there are obviously a lot of migrant workers, and they usually come back to visit and stay for as much as 1 month during the Chinese New Year. Actually, in the Chinese New Year time, that actually was a month ago. I noticed that in rural area, I would say some people, they stayed here for maybe a couple of days. But also some people, they stayed longer and they didn't go back to a city and town until after the 15th day of Chinese New Year, which is the Lantern Festival. So in that case, they spent a more complete Chinese New Year reunion with their family. All right, now let's walk on this path. This is a narrow section. The 3 villages are one named village together or separate names? Very good question, Joe. And in my other tours, I told you that in rural China, there's one kind of temples that you don't get to see in urban area of China. That it is an ancestral temple. Yeah, so I would say here, the villagers, they are basically in the same last name because their ancestors came here and told you that people started to settle in this region. I would say probably more than 1,000 years ago, but 500 years ago, according to the current records. Yeah, because in China history, obviously there were different turmoils, a lot of peasant revolutions, one after another throughout Chinese 2,000, or sometimes people even say 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years. It depends on how you really define it. If you, in the definition of China as a unified country, maybe 2,100 years. through all those years, there were a lot of peasant revolution, a lot of turmoil, a lot of upheavals. So I want to say, the ancestors of the villagers who live now in this village, they came here about 400 and 500 years ago. They settled here. Usually, people in a small village, they are in one or two different surnames, because like in the village where I live with my wife, there were two major last names, but basically I would say it's the one major last name, because it's a Wang. Yeah. Well, the other one is Wang. This is what they told me. Yeah. Wang and Wang, they are actually two different characters, but they look very similar, with only the difference of the affixation. Yeah. And also they sound a little bit different, because in Chinese language we have 4 tones, 4 different intonations. In one it is Wang, while the other one is Wang. Pretty similar. My wife's last name is Wang. And Wang, in this case, is just a last name, and it's a very common last name. But other than being a last name, in Chinese, when people mention this character Wang, it usually means king, an emperor or king. Yeah, Wang, and it's the third intonation. The first tone is Wang. The second one is Wang. Sorry, it's the second one. It's the second tone. Wang. The third tone is Wang. Well, the fourth tone is Wang. Wang, 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 Wang. 4 different intonations. And in Chinese pinyin, it's spelled as W-A-N-G, not W-O-N-G. I believe W-O-N-G is actually a variety of W-A-N-G, but mainly used by people outside China. Because to people outside China, W-O-N-G looks more like an English spelling. Well, W-A-N-G is how we Chinese people spell it, by using the English Roman letters. Actually, you know what? Now I'm standing on the ridge of a mountain here, and there are 2 sides. Now I'm going to train my camera to the other side. The other side is more misty. That's right, it's amazing. Actually, yeah, we're actually standing in the cloud of mist. Now I'm hearing someone hawking. There are 4 or 5 big and small clusters of communities ahead of us on this side. And that hawking obviously is amplified by a megaphone. It's someone who is driving in a Chinese pickup truck. And he's driving on the meandering roads in the mountain, selling something. Can you hear? I think we are now about 500 to 600 meters high. And this is equivalent to close to 2,000 feet above the sea level. Yeah, I told you that, and that is also something you can find in the introduction, that this road, according to the available records on the internet, this path we are treading on was paved by the money of a rich guy. And he basically paved this path to pick up his bride from a village in this area. Actually, this reminds me of a story that I got to know in another water village in Huzhou City, kind of near here in this region. And the story goes that in Ming Dynasty, there was a scholar bureaucrat. And he was a rich, powerful guy. And he built 100 houses connected on one side of the canal for all his concubines. All right, here, that man was not an emperor. He was not a lord. He was not an emperor. He was a scholar bureaucrat. Typical story in China history. It seems as if we are in Huangshan Mountain, or the Mount Huangshan, sometimes also called the Yellow Mountain. Actually, you know what? I think I plan to go to Mount Huangshan before long. So you can keep your attention on my tours. It's something I will do. I think I plan to do just in the coming days. And Huangshan Mountain is a very magnificent, famous mountain in China. It's also a UNESCO heritage site, a World Geological Park. You can see magnificent granite stones, grotesque pine trees, etc. Yeah, and basically now we are in the cloud of mist, but in Huangshan Mountain, you can actually overlook the cloud of mist from up high. Yeah, but you know, it depends on your luck. It depends on your luck. All right, now let's keep walking and show you and walking and talking. 走吧。Many brides did the rich guy who built the path have? How many brides? Joe, in this case, only, you know, actually no number is released. I mean, for one marriage, of course, that guy just married one, and he was a local moneybag. And just now, when we hiked on the mountainside, we saw the Chinese plum flowers in blossom every here and there. Hopefully we'll get some more and show you. And they look similar to sakura, but they're different. In Chinese culture, we have 3 winter friends. Well, that term here refers to the 3 plants people like to appreciate in the winter, in cold days. Well, plum flower is one of the 3. And now you can try to guess what are the other 2 plants. Actually, they are plants. They are not all flowers. Plum flower in this case is a flower, but the other 2 actually are not flowers. 3 friends in winter. I met a couple from Toronto who hiked in the Yellow Mountain back in the late 70s, special permission. Special permission, wow, 70s, okay. In 70s, that's right. In 70s, China was a very, very closed society. And actually, it was in the middle of the most, unbelievable turmoils in humanity, the Cultural Revolution. But maybe they came here after the Cultural Revolution. I'm not sure. With the special permission, I mean, they could be still here even during the Cultural Revolution, since it was a special permission, I guess. But who didn't really want to come in an upheaval? I'm not sure. Are they the same as Japan? Pine, bamboo, and plum. Oh, great guess. Pine, bamboo, plum, exactly the same. Yes. In Chinese, song, 竹, mei. Song is pine. 竹, bamboo. Pine, plum is mei. Have you noticed that in Chinese language, in terms of pronunciation, one Chinese character usually carries just one syllable. For instance, the name of this ancient path is Wenchang, 4 characters. And when I talk about the names of the flower or the plants, each one is represented by just one syllable, which is a character in this case. Because of that, Chinese may sound choppy when people are talking. 继续往这走是吧？ Actually, we are in the Huangshan mountain range. We're in the same area. It takes me about 1 hour and 40 minutes for me to drive to the foot of the Huangshan mountain.
这里也有条路哎，我不知道该从这走还是从下面走。
All right, don't forget to take pictures. And there are green, bamboo trees appearing in the lower part of the view. You know, a typical Chinese painting is just like this, black and white. And they like to show the ethereal image of a mountain. And the distance of different mountains is reflected by the shades the artist applies with the ink and the rice paper. It's also easily related to a hermit who lives in a backwater mountain, cooking some kind of elixir for longevity. All right, now let's keep walking down this path. You can see the tea bushes. In a month's time, you will see local farmers working.
从这条路走吧，这下去就不对了，感觉。
没关系. In a month's time, you will see Chinese farmers here in this local village, how busy they get into picking the tea leaves from this kind of bushes. I will definitely show you the scene. It is the most important time for local villagers. To them, tea leaves are the money. Hello, Maureen. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Sibia, and thank you for joining. Andrea. There are a lot of coniferous trees. There's one here. In this area, people pick the fallen leaves of this kind of tree to start a fire in their adobe kitchen stove. 王兰兰，我记得好像是有个亭子的。我记得是有个亭子的。没事，你可以用那个地图看一下。
可是我没有看到亭子啊。
你可以，你打开你的那个。
我已经打开导航了。
对，看一下地图，方位、方向。王兰兰，没事的。现在的话有崖头了吗？
没有。
现在没有。还有，我们看一下有没有花。你引导一下有没有花什么的。
花。
对，没关系啦，路的话先不急了，说不定我们走的是对的。我记得是有一个亭子的。
没有亭子了，那边亭子已经倒了。刚刚你下来的时候。
是吗？你看到它倒了？
嗯。哦，会不会是从那条路上去啊？不对呀，我们是刚刚从那下来的呀。应该是走这条路。应该是走这。
My wife, as a local girl who grew up in this area, is now trying to position ourselves, and because she thinks we are kind of lost. 啊？从这哈。Actually, on the weekends, there are tourists coming here because on the way we do see litters here and there. 哎，我感觉是这儿。对，这条路让我感觉到是的。I was on this path once. That was actually 3 years ago during the Chinese New Year. My wife and I, with children, came here to visit my mother during the Chinese New Year. Not my mother, my mother-in-law, my wife's mother, in this village. And but unfortunately, we got locked down. We didn't plan for this hike, but it was when the Chinese, the pandemic broke out in China. So we actually got locked down. By that chance, we just did some hikings, and this actually was one of the hikes we made, the Wenchang Ancient Path. You know what? Actually, my wife thinks this is the path we covered last time. And you know what? Actually, standing here, I totally agree with her. It actually jogs my memory. Yes, actually 3 years ago, we were standing here overlooking the views. Now, actually, I'm presenting to you right over there. That's right. And I also remember, yeah, that path from this angle. And we just came from there. The flagging path. Yeah, you don't want to get lost because there are different villagers and you don't want to go the wrong way or the opposite direction. Lockdown means you had to stay in a certain area. That's right, Joe. Lockdown actually, last year in Shanghai from March for 3 months until June, Shanghai experienced a lockdown. That was a serious one. And people actually basically were locked in their neighborhoods. And I often said it was not just a lockdown only. It was like lock up. Because, no jokingly, I did see a padlock on the gates of the neighborhoods. Yeah, this is the Chinese style of lockdown. It's actually lock up. But who cares what? And a lot of the neighborhood then also saw the sheet iron put up on the roadside around the neighborhood. We saw that, different things, yeah. And actually 3 years ago or 2 years ago, when other cities in China experienced draconian lockdowns, people in Shanghai, they kind of were very, they took it too easy by saying that it would not actually come to Shanghai. But eventually it came. Why not? I mean, it's possible. Shanghai is not outside of China. But talking about Shanghai, I think I would also like to show you Shanghai. When I maybe go back to Shanghai for a visit, probably not very far, I mean, from today also. And I would like to show you some major tourist attractions and also some back streets and hidden gems in Shanghai. And my wife is now pointing at Sakura. She said Sakura. Okay, let's go and check. The ancient path seems to be over here because obviously this is not flagging path. This is just a beaten path. 野樱花你看到啦？ All right, but before we enter the next part that is more covered in trees, I would like to stay here a little longer for you to enjoy this vast scenery of mountains and cottages in black and white shades.好的。Here's a kind of pine, the pine nuts. Actually, we have seen all the three friends in Chinese culture in winter. Pine, bamboo, there's bamboo. See the lushy green plants over there? Bamboo. And the plum flowers actually we haven't seen for this tour. We saw, I mean, my wife and I saw on the way before the tour started, but we're going to show you later. I'm sure we'll see some. And my wife just now pointed at Sakura. Let's go and check it out. Stunning. It makes me sad that the US and China may be in conflict down the road. No, Maureen, don't worry about that. I mean, who wants to be in conflict with the US? I mean, not in direct conflict. I mean, I cannot really bet on anything, but based on my understanding of Chinese as a culture, I mean, I always like to think from a cultural perspective because politics is actually just the pinnacle of culture. I don't think. I mean, China is not Russia. Of course, China has its ambition. I mean, for its government, but what has happened in Russia, I mean, and in Ukraine actually has been a very very good thing to stop another chaos from happening. But let me tell you that there is actually the mood that you can actually feel it. For example, my own father, for one, is the one who raves of attacking Taiwan for reunification. And on that account, we are totally at odds. But of course, we have always been in a lot of differences. All right, 那个樱花呢？
野樱花呀，
在哪儿？
挡住了，那下面挡掉了。
China is actually also a paradise of plants. In late Qing Dynasty, there was a famous British plant hunter called Ernest Henry Wilson. And he made 3 different trips in China in the late Qing Dynasty, the last dynasty of China. When he first came to China, it was still the end of the 19th century. Out of the 3 trips he made in China, he gathered and collected a lot of plant seeds, flower seeds, and the specimens. And a lot of them were brought back to England and also to the United States because Ernest Henry Wilson, when he first came to China, he was hired by an office in the UK. But eventually, he actually worked for a garden in the USA. I think in the present-day Boston. The garden is called, let me recall, the name of the garden is in Harvard University. It's a kind of arboretum. It's a garden. In China, there's a documentary that I watched on CCTV a couple of years ago about this plant hunter from England. And the current curator of that garden, oh, now I can see. I can record the name of the garden. It's Arnold Arboretum, yes, in Harvard University. And the current, at least the then current, for the documentary, for when the documentary was filmed, curator actually came here to visit, and he appeared to act as Ernest Henry Wilson in that documentary. And in the documentary, there were also images that were actually taken by Henry Ernest Wilson. And it is a great record to show how Chinese people lived in the late Qing Dynasty. And I tried to search on the internet. I didn't find any English documentary about the Ernest Henry Wilson, about his experience in China. Not that part. There's only the Chinese documentary. Yes, Arnold Arboretum in Harvard University. Now, if you go there, I believe you can see a Chinese section with all the plants originally brought from China. 你在干什么？
一个客户。
Well, this is also a lovely view. As I see, actually, the image you are getting to see looks even prettier than what actually I'm seeing with my naked eyes. Sometimes the views appear more charming on a video. One scene that I cannot forget from this documentary is a picture taken by Henry Ernest Wilson. And on one of his trips, he saw on the ancient tea horse trade route. And that is actually something I mentioned in the introduction of this tour, because this is a local, path, ancient path. And people used to walk on this path a lot to travel between different villages. And they carried stuff between villagers, for trade, for livelihood, etc. But Ernest Henry Wilson, he traveled mostly in the western part of China, central western part of China, and even the border regions with close to the present day Thailand. Yeah. And there's a more famous ancient path of China, that is a tea horse ancient path. And I told you in the beginning of this tour, the western part of China is much higher in altitude. There are great mountains, really high, 2,000, 3,000, easily 4,000 meters above the sea level. Well, here we are just 500, 600. But when I get to Huangshan Mountain, I will get to something like 2,000, close to 2,000. Actually, more specifically, 1,800 meters above the sea level. Yeah. But anyway, in Western China, there are great mountains. And that tea horse trade path is, built on very dangerous areas, with maybe one side just the deep cliff right beside you, for horses, people to all travel on for hundreds of years. And Henry Ernest Wilson, he saw how hard Chinese people worked, and he also saw those young men who carried stacks of tea on their back. And he once counted in one occasion that a young man who looked very thin, he carried 22 stacks of tea on the back. And now we are getting to a fork with the two directions, two ahead of us. Now we have to decide which way to go. Thank you for sharing all those links and is the red soil or brown? What did that link for? Welcome, sir. It bifurcates. 我来，你看一下哪条路，然后 Tea Horse Road. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Tea Horse Road. In western regions of China and the regions in the present day Central Asia, close to that area, there are great horses like Fergana horses, right? And but people in those high mountains, they are lack of vegetation as nutrition, and tea is something they need to get the minerals from a plant. 怎么 Many foreigners live in this area?
他说我偏离路线，我该怎么走？
I don't think many foreigners actually live in this rural area of China. No, not many. But in this area, we have Shanghai, Suzhou, Hangzhou, and a bunch of other developed cities. Yeah. There you can see foreigners, international schools, bilingual schools, and there are obviously foreign teachers in those schools, and there are different factories, big and small, domestic and international. Yeah, there are a lot of foreigners there.
这导航不准，因为这是山路。
不，你就靠你的记忆。
我的记忆啊，哎呦，真的不知道哎。
我觉得应该是往下的吧，再往上的话是不是？但是也不好说。Have you now turned to walk southwards? I'm not sure,
那我
Gregory.
们就走这条路吧。
啊？
就走这里吧，错就错吧，大不了回头。
Left path looks brighter. Left path leads further up. It seems to be leading to maybe the top of the mountain. I'm not sure. Maybe then we can go down from the top in the direction of home. I'm not sure, but my wife is already there, and let's walk and see if everything turns out right. The road less traveled, better to follow the local experts. Show you some plants. Oh, above us. That's why we lost the connection. Now we are back. What I did was I rebooted my phone. Usually that can help, but since we are still in the thick cover forest, maybe we may get the lost connection any moment from now. So just to be aware of that. Let me show you the views. You know what? Actually, my wife said we actually picked the wrong route. This is actually our way home. It's the right way. I was afraid that the Yeti was there. Yeti. What is Yeti, Mark? Yeti. Oh, you mean wild tea leaves? Wild tea? Yeti. What is Yeti? Ye in Chinese means wild. Something that is not cultivated. Something that grows just in nature. But of course, under this pronunciation, there could be different characters. But what comes to the top of my mind is which means wild. Okay. Again, I lost the connection, and fortunately, I'm back just in minutes, in seconds. It rained yesterday, and it's overcast day today. It's a little bit slippery on the road. Why did the rich guy just find a local bride? All right, let's sleep on this question, Joe. Don't keep apologizing for this. You have no control over this, sincerely. That's right, you're right. You're right, but NYC. What does NYC stand for? NYC. New York City. Yes, okay, got it. New York City. Am I right? Okay, now we're getting closer to some houses of a village. And you know what? My wife just said, this village is uninhabited. I mean, this is serious. Last time, we visited some villages in the Chinese New Year with our children and their playmates in this village. And the village actually we visited at that time was a totally deserted village. Nobody living there. And this is another one. This is an adobe house. But Chinese people are very traditional. A lot of people, even they don't actually live in this kind of village. Since they have old houses here, on Chinese New Year, they still come here to do some cleaning, to paste the spring couplets. I'm talking about the red decoration paper you get to see at the gate. A traditional society. More of a agrarian society. Even though those people actually basically have moved out of this backwater village, and they now live in towns and big cities, even international cities like Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Chengdu, etc. Yeah, and Hangzhou. Hangzhou is the closest metropolitan city to this village. But in terms of what they actually think and how they think, the way of thinking, I would say Chinese society is still very traditional, agrarian society. That can even include those people who actually were born and grew up in the cities. They're actually influenced by those kind of traditional mindsets of Chinese people. Yeah. So in such a traditional society, when people think, they tend to think about allegiance, loyalty, those things. They don't care so much about like rationality, liberty. It's not that. It's not that. If you just simply tell them that something is part of us, they just get bogged down in their mind, and they can't live without the idea that they don't have it. And they don't like to be challenged. They want the just allegiance, the following.
破败掉了，都没有人住了。
来，我来拍一下这边的景象。 请你让开拍一下这个景象。A deserted village, another one. This is a different one. 这是叫什么名字？
这里朝阳。
The name of this village is Chaoyang. Chaoyang, in Chinese, it has a meaning. It means towards the sun. Well, you can put any verb. Here, the verb doesn't matter. You can say, look towards the sun, face towards the sun, go towards the sun. But the point is towards the sun. It's a good name. And there's a Chinese company that produces tires for cars that is named Chaoyang. Actually, my wife, as a local farmer in terms of identity, when she left this town and went to a city like Hangzhou as a migrant worker, one of the jobs she did actually was to work in a factory of a Chaoyang company. And then she was actually an inspector of the tiles manufactured in that factory in Hangzhou area. Right? Chaoyang Luntai, yes. It's the main brand of car tires in China. Chaoyang tires. Yeah.
Cooper.
Really? And my wife told me that there's factories also in the United States. And it's called Cooper. Really? Cooper. Wow. Cooper. Do you have Cooper? That kind of tire, car tire in the United States? Who can tell me? Have you heard of it? Yes. Whoa. Okay. Yeah. So maybe let's find out the specific relationship between Chinese Chaoyang company and Cooper. All right. This is homework I will do after this tour. All right. Cheap tires. Okay. I can figure it out. Chaoyang name is the same as the city in the Liaoning province, Chaoyang. Joe, as far as I know, no, not Chaoyang city in Liaoning province. Liaoning 那边有个朝阳吗？ You know, the capital city of Liaoning province is Shenyang. Shenyang, as you Westerners pronounce. Shenyang, but we Chinese people, in the correct tone, we say Shenyang. Shen is in the third tone. Instead of shen, it's shen, the third tone. Or the fourth tone is shen, the third tone. Shen. Yang in second tone, Shenyang. It's not Chaoyang, all right? Not so cheap off brands. Answer the question, please, if you do not mind. Oh, what is your question? Sorry, I missed it. Excuse me. Why would they abandon their dwellings and villages to migrate to a more urbanized area when they have lived here for so long? Very good question. Why? Because obviously you can see in this kind of rural backwater region, living condition is very limited. And actually, they told me that here in this kind of a village, in their village, they got the tap water not before late 1990s. Not before that. There was no tap water for them. They had to carry it every time. And there were no paved roads for cars. Only dirt roads, like this. This is probably what you got to see around this kind of a village back 20, 30 years ago. Dirt roads only. And also people, for them, there was no means for them to make a proper living. People simply lived in very poor conditions, in poverty.
一个无人村却有人在那里做一个农家乐。
When in terms of why people now move, why they move, it is because there are job opportunities in cities. But you know what? Actually, there should be in a normal, circumstance, there should be also job opportunities in a rural area, even though it's not great, right? But it's not the case in China. It's not the case in China. There's such a disparity of wealth and development in China between cities and villagers. Well, on the other hand, it's also a narrative because obviously economy relies on people who go to the cities to buy houses, to spend money. While housing is such a major part for the governmental revenue here. It's a narrative. Huh? Oh, my wife is pointing at the sakura flowers again. And let's probably finish over there. But there is a civilization there. You have transportation. That's right. There's a civilization here. There's electricity, and the people actually, for me, for one, actually, I use internet in my home, and I can buy anything, basically, pretty much everything that you can find on the internet, and they can be, sent to your area by couriers. It's all available. Actually, yesterday I read a piece of news on Chinese media that says 95% of rural China now is covered by courier service. Yeah, so actually I live in a village not too far from here, and we get the courier service, not directly to the village. I have to go out to another village to fetch my parcels, but at least I can get it like in a matter of half an hour for whatever I bought on internet. So that's right. Those facilities and services are in theory accessible. But this is only in theory. In practice, people have been totally into a kind of a mindset that is life in the city is better. And this is also very true because if you only seek like the pleasures, physical convenience, and this kind of things, yes, definitely city is the choice. City is the choice. Because here, if you live here, look, what do children have their fun with? And there are no museums around. School, people worried about the education in the school here. They think the schooling here is terrible and teachers are not so professional, etc., etc. So, this is a big topic. This is a big topic. But before we finish, let me show you this angle of the view. And the old house is deserted. But my wife just told me that this house right in front of you looks more maintained. And obviously, it is maintained by someone because someone just renovated this part of the building in hope for making some gains out of the tourism that has been promoted by the local office. But so far, it hasn't turned out very well. It hasn't turned out very well. And you can see there are litters. Yeah, so in general, the tourism here has not been maintained very well by the local office. But people still want, of course, they want if when tourism is really up, they want to take advantage of it. And but here, I don't think people actually live in this building. They just renovated it just in hope that one day, when there's tourism, when there's an opportunity of business, they come here to do it. All right, and let's finish there with the view of the sakura flowers up there in this small part of the mountain in pink. That means spring is coming. Okay, guys, thank you very much. And Jane, oh, you joined the last minute, Jane. But anyway, doesn't matter because 2 days from now, I have another tour, and I'll show you something new. That is a village, a different village. It's called 卖花渔村 in Chinese, 4 characters again, and it literally means flower selling fishing village. But you know what? I put quotation marks on the fishing here because fishing here is not is actually something like a pun, a language play in Chinese. But that is actually a village, and they do sell and display different flowers. And also, that village is in a very beautiful green area with a lot of trees, like a forest. It's classified as a forest, style village in China. So it's something I will show you the day after tomorrow. All right. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you. And my battery is very low. See you next time. Take care. 帮我按一下，来来。
哪一个？这个？
嗯，
这个？
嗯哼，
红的？
嗯。